So he's definitely having fun. So here's your icebreaker question. What's your favorite part about Easter? What is your favorite part about Easter? And when you're ready to dive into the scriptures, you can press play to continue. It's my daughter's dog in the background there, and clearly he is enjoying being able to get outside. And that's one of the things I actually enjoy about Easter, is that it's the time of year when the weather's starting to change, and the trees are starting to bud, and flowers, the annuals are starting to come up, and we'll do Easter egg hunts outside and gather together with the family. And there's just a whole bunch of things that I enjoy about Easter. But I'll tell you that the thing I'm most grateful about, the thing that gets me all excited, the thing that I enjoy the most, is the celebration of Jesus and his resurrection and what that means for all of us. We've been in a series entitled Love Letters, and looking at specifically letters written by the Apostle John in 1st, 2nd, and 3rd John. And so I decided for Easter to go ahead and use the Gospel of John to talk about the resurrected Christ. We've learned that John focuses on some key concepts, things that he considers to be most important. He talks about truth, and he talks about love. And so when it comes to the resurrection, I want to start out by focusing on truth and love, and look at that first passage. What seems to be the truth, the most important part that John wants to communicate to us about Jesus, the tomb, and the women that go and find the empty tomb. Read that section, talk about that question, and when you're ready to continue, you can press play. John talks about the empty tomb, and he shares the fact that the other gospel writers share as well, that the first people to discover the empty tomb were women. Mary Magdalene is the one that he especially focuses in on, and Mary goes and finds the tomb empty, goes back and tells Peter and John. They come running, they check it out, sure enough it's empty, and they go back. And then Mary is still by the tomb, as John shares. And what we're going to find as you read this next passage is Mary is the first person who is going to see the risen Lord. That's pretty incredible, pretty significant. And he takes the time to work with her as she is in her grief about him not only being dead, but about his body being stolen and moved someplace else. He takes the time to show compassion to her, just like he showed compassion to her earlier in her life when she was caught in sin. Jesus had a compassionate love that he shows to Mary. And so the question that I want you to talk about is how is that a compassionate love in him taking the time with her until she finally recognizes that he is alive. Read the passage, talk about that. You can press play when you're ready to continue. It was getting pretty cold out there. I know that the weather's supposed to be turning, and it is getting nicer, and the trees are budding. But it was cold, and the wind was blowing. So I came inside, and the dogs are running around, and so I came downstairs and in the office and closed this door. So I'm behind some closed doors, and that's appropriate for this next section because that's where the apostles were when Jesus appeared to them. In fact, the door that they were behind was not only closed, but it was locked. They were there because they were afraid.
They were afraid that the same people who came after Jesus would come after them. Um, Judas was already dead. Now, that was because of his own doing, and so it wasn't that they came after him as much as they had turned him, and he had turned against Jesus, and because of that, he committed suicide. But there were 11 of them left, and and they were afraid. They were behind the locked doors when Jesus came and appeared to them for the first time. Mary had seen the risen Lord, came back and reported to them, but they had not. And right away that same night, 10 of the 11 got to see Jesus alive. Uh, and so uh, they excitedly tell the one that was missing, Thomas, and Thomas just doesn't buy it. Mary Magdalene says she saw him alive, and now we've got the other 10 say that they saw him alive. Thomas does not believe just because somebody else tells him. And this is a really um, worth taking the time to think about and talk about this because we are all in the same boat that Thomas is in. Um, and we don't get to see Jesus. We didn't get to see him face to face, alive in the first place. We didn't get to hear his teaching from his own voice. We didn't get to walk with him, have meals with him, watch the miracles. We did not see him die, and we did not see him alive after he was dead. We are among those who have not seen. And the question is, what will it take for us to believe? Uh, as you read this passage, what I want you to see here is that Jesus has I called it a confirming love. God's love for us is so great that he sent his only begotten Son, Jesus, so that whoever would believe in him would not perish but have eternal life. Jesus takes the time to confirm for Mary and then for the 10, and then a week later for Thomas, that he is in fact alive, uh, which is the proof that he is the Christ, the one through whom all of us can be saved. And so, as you read this, I want you to wrestle with this the way Thomas did. Why do you think, first of all, that Jesus took the time to confirm for each apostle, in other words, to give them what they needed in order to believe in him, to believe that he was actually alive? And I didn't put it on the paper, but I'm going to just throw this at you as well. What does it take for you to believe that Jesus died for you, and that he is alive, and that he is risen and even ascended into heaven? Um, are you among those who have um, not seen but believe? And what did it take for you to believe? Talk about that with your group, and when you're ready to continue on, you can press play on the video. Well, Jesus' resurrection is clearly a big deal. Uh, for us as Christ followers, it is the biggest event of the year that we celebrate. Uh, that Jesus was not just a man, that he was a great teacher. And he wasn't just a great teacher, he was a prophet. And he wasn't just a prophet, but he was the Messiah, the Christ, the Son of the living God, the one through whom everyone can be saved. And the resurrection is the uh, is the moment when we know that that is true. The prophecies told us that the Messiah would die and then would rise again, that the grave would not hold him. We saw Jesus put down his own statement that just as Jonah was 3 days in the belly of the fish, so the Son of Man will be 3 days in the earth. He put everything in front of us so that we knew, so that the apostles knew ahead of time, that when he rose from the dead, that there was a significance to that. And the apostles didn't understand it at first, but after he was dead and then alive again, he took the time to point out those scriptures to them again so that they would understand how it all fit together, and then they shared it in their writings. And that's what John puts in this last little section. The significance of the resurrection is in this paragraph that you're about to read. As you read it, my question is that what does John think the significance is of Jesus' resurrection? What does it mean about Jesus? And the real question is, do you believe that that's what it means? In other words, is that significant enough to bring you to a place where you believe that Jesus is the Christ, the Son of the living God? Share that faith with each other in your group. Encourage each other in that faith. And pray for one another. That all of us will hold on to that faith throughout this life as we look forward to the next. And if we have friends, family members, even those that are in the room that struggle with that faith, then pray for one another that God will, well, open the path, that pave the way for belief for every one of us, for all of those who are with us in the room, and those of us, those who are our friends and our family members, our neighbors, our co-workers, those who have not seen and still do not believe. Pray for them, and I am praying for you in the midst of that as well, and for them as well, that all of us will be able to experience the joy that comes from knowing that Jesus is the Christ, the Son of the living God, and through him we will have eternal life. God bless.